You only notice what's missing in a house when it suddenly feels full again. Too many footsteps upstairs, the bathroom light flicking on by itself, the dog not barking the way it used to. Rachel took everything with her the day she left. The porch plants, the stacked books by the couch, the colorful plates in the sink. But what she never managed to take was the echo she left behind. Because there are some things you only notice once you're inside. If you've ever looked out your window just to see who was already watching, or felt like someone out there knew your routine a little too well, then maybe the story will feel a little too familiar. Like the video, share it, and if something in your house once felt slightly off, leave a comment. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's gone, it's what someone left behind, in the wrong place. My name is Carter Bishop. I've lived in the same house since I was 16, when my mom moved us from Baltimore to this quiet suburb in Oregon after the divorce. She left the house to me when she moved on, one of those temporary decisions that turned permanent. I'm 24 now. I'm getting my master's in behavioral psychology. I teach on campus twice a week, keep the yard neat on Saturdays, and follow one rule about silence. If you hear me, it's because I let you. If not, it's because you never knew I was there. I first saw Rachel the day she pulled up with boxes in the back seat and her dog on her lap. It was raining. I figured she was just another short-term renter who'd disappear and leave the place worse than she found it. But with her, it was different. I don't know why. There was something in the way she fumbled with the keys, laughed at the dog, cleaned the windows even when it was cloudy. She was light. So light it looked like she floated through the house, like she didn't belong anywhere. Maybe that's why I thought she belonged to me. I started small, noticing when she left for work, when the dog ate, how often she watered the porch plants. My schedule was flexible enough to mirror hers. She never noticed. Almost no one ever does. At first it was like behavioral research, routines, patterns, gestures, but soon I stopped taking notes. I started memorizing. The music she played in the car, the words she repeated on the phone, the way she stretched in the morning with her eyes still shut. It all felt so natural, so personal, so mine. There was a weak spot in the fence between our houses, right behind the garden hose. I never had to jump it, just duck, breathe, and move like I'd done it before. The first time was when I saw her kitchen light on at 3 a.m. She was in sweats, eating cereal at the counter, scrolling through her phone. She looked drained. There was something intimate about it. Sad, even. I started walking through her yard at night. Not to break in, not yet, just to understand the house better. I watched what lights she left on, where the dog liked to sleep, what she forgot to lock. I counted how long her bedroom light stayed on after she laid down, tracked the dog's pacing, memorized the mug placements, alarm times, even the ceiling fan's direction. The dog barked sometimes. Other nights she just whispered, "shh," and fell back asleep. And I was there, quiet, right between what's allowed and what goes unseen. It took a few weeks before I actually stepped inside. It wasn't breaking and entering. The back door was cracked open like always. A casual mistake, a misunderstood invitation. I stepped in carefully, cold all over, moving as if the floor itself knew I didn't belong there. It smelled different inside, sweeter, warmer. I stood in the living room for almost 3 minutes, not touching anything, just listening to her breathe down the hallway. The dog didn't bark, just perked its ears and watched me like it knew. I came back a few more times, never moved anything except once, when I turned a mug slightly just to see if she'd notice. She didn't. Or maybe she did and chose not to. Each visit felt like permission, like she was silently making space for me. One night I sat on the couch where she usually curled up. Another night I shut her bathroom window before it rained. I thought of it as care, as presence, as closeness. That night, I was sure she'd be gone for the weekend. I'd overheard her on the phone saying she was visiting her parents till Sunday. It was Friday, cold, damp. Her house had been dark since 6, so I figured she'd already left. I waited until midnight, crossed the yard like I'd done 100 times, wore gloves, not for fingerprints, but for the ritual. The back door was unlocked. I slipped inside, took off my shoes to stay quiet. The smell was stronger than usual, like the house had exhaled through her sheets. Too still. Even the dog wasn't in sight. I dimmed my phone's flashlight and walked the hallway like I owned it, like this was normal. Then I heard it, a muffled car door, headlights sweeping across the living room wall. She hadn't left, or she came back early. My stomach dropped, but I didn't panic, not yet. I rushed to the hallway closet, the white one she always left cracked with towels stacked inside. I wedged myself in, knees pressed to a shoebox, holding my breath. I heard her keys, boots on the rug, the click of the hallway light. She was with the dog. He sniffed the air, came closer. For a second, I thought he'd bark, but he didn't. He just sat in front of the closet, still, like he was waiting for me to come out. She stood in the hallway for a moment. I could hear her breathing, shallow, uncertain, like she felt something was off. I watched her shadow under the door. The ceiling light flickered, and then she whispered, "Finn, come." The dog hesitated, then walked away. Her footsteps backed off. 1, 2, 3. And then I heard her bedroom door close. The lock turned. I stayed frozen inside that closet for more than 20 minutes, drenched in sweat, heart locked in my throat. Every step to the exit felt like Russian roulette. I don't know why she didn't call the cops. Maybe she did later. Maybe she thought it was all in her head. Or maybe she knew exactly what was happening and just didn't want to confirm it. She moved out 2 days later. I saw the truck arrive at 7 sharp, saw her packing in a rush, saw the tilted planter box tossed in the passenger seat. She didn't look back once, not even one last night with the hallway light on. I left nothing behind, no trace, no mess. She walked out thinking she won something, but what she never understood is that the house was already mine long before she ever moved in. She locked everything, the doors, the windows, even the closets. But she never realized the only thing that matters is who learns to walk in without a sound.
To understand what Zoe lost, you first need to understand what she thought she had. Discipline, control, impeccability. Those things make noise when they break, but it's not the kind of sound an alarm picks up. It's the kind you only notice when the door is already open, when someone walks in and nothing inside you reacts. My name is Olivia Manners. I'm 28, have a spotless record, and 2 conduct awards I honestly couldn't tell you where I left. I was a cop until a psych evaluation said I needed a break, the kind of break that never ends. Now I work private security. I wear black, walk straight, observe everything, but I don't sound sirens anymore, which is funny considering sirens were always about ego. That's exactly what Zoe Mahoney brought back to our unit, ego. She showed up with that unblemished smile, that chipper good morning at 6 a.m., that posture like nothing in her life had ever cracked, and everyone fell over themselves. Supervisors, co-workers, even the guys pulling overnight shifts. She was the girl who nailed the briefing, ran 5 miles at dawn, and still had time to post her afternoon coffee. And of course, she made sure to triple lock her door before bed, as if that would ever matter. I started watching her like it was an assignment. No emotion, just technique, routine analysis, blind spots, vulnerable windows of time. At first, that's all it was, an informal audit.
If everyone was going to worship her as the example, someone needed to see if she deserved it. And yeah, she left cracks. She kept her spare key in a cheap plastic flower pot out back, used the same code for the gate and the Wi-Fi, left her bathroom window cracked open on warm nights. Details most people would miss, but I was trained to notice. And the more I noticed, the more it irritated me. The gap between who she looked like, the golden girl, and who she was when no one was watching. It wasn't just jealousy, it was imbalance. It was the kind of lie that everyone buys into until someone points to the fracture. I started small, rang her doorbell and walked away before she could answer, just to see how long it took her to check the cameras. Then I tipped over her trash bin. She noticed, posted something about raccoons on Instagram, but had the lock on the side gate changed 2 days later. I began walking her street at odd hours, hoodie up, just watching the rhythm of her house. One night I crept closer. The dog growled, a Belgian Malinois, not the type to flinch. But he didn't bark unless it mattered. I hid in the hedges on the east side, where her front camera couldn't catch me. That's when I saw it. She always ran at 6:07 a.m. sharp, same high ponytail, same music blasting through her earbuds. Perfect repetition isn't strength. It's just routine without oversight. And I became the oversight her world didn't know it had. By the third week, I had figured out her security code. Wasn't hard. She always punched the digits the same way, and I'd already caught a glimpse once. 4170. I didn't go in right away. I waited. I wanted the moment to matter. I wanted her to still be home. The next night, I disarmed the garage alarm and tested the entry door. Slow, soft, deliberate. I stepped just past the frame, toes on carpet like a student entering a classroom. The smell was faint, the place spotless, cold. I heard her breathing from down the hallway, slow and heavy. The dog lay on the rug. I stood there for 3 minutes, exactly 3. That's when I knew she wasn't special, just another girl who grew up thinking locked doors meant safety. I entered through the kitchen at 3:17 a.m. I already knew that was her deepest sleep cycle. I'd tested it. I'd heard it. I wore gloves and moved like someone who knew the layout better than the homeowner. Every step on the hardwood was rehearsed, every breath controlled. I didn't turn on any lights, didn't touch anything. I just walked to the end of the hallway and watched her bedroom door, cracked open, lit by a soft LED glow. The dog rolled over, didn't bark, just followed me with his eyes, like he'd seen this before. Then I saw her, face bathed in blue light, sleeping on her side, mouth barely open, the gun on her nightstand, inches from her hand. But I wasn't the kind of danger she'd been trained to detect. I stayed longer than I should have. The kind of time people feel, even in their sleep, feel in their breath, in their chest, in that sudden instinct that something is wrong, even if the room is quiet. She rolled over fast, and I stepped back into shadow. The dog rose, low growl in his throat, but didn't lunge. Zoe opened her eyes, just for a second, sat up, looked into the dark, grabbed her phone. The glow lit the room. She checked the time, then she looked straight toward the doorway. I don't know if she saw me, but I know she felt it. I retraced every step, closed the door without sound. On her cameras, it would look like a glitch, 2 seconds of nothing. But in her body, it'd echo for years. The next morning, she didn't run, stayed inside all day. That night, I watched the garage lights flicker on and off 3 times, like she was rechecking something she no longer trusted. Day 2, she disconnected the cameras. Day 3, she hired a private company to replace the whole system. The next week, she posted a story with a sad song and the caption, "Some things never feel the same again." She never said my name, never reported anything,
but we both knew that image they all loved, it had cracked. All I did was show her where. Zoe moved out 3 weeks later. No truck, no notice. Just a dark bedroom window and a missing dog bowl in the yard. She left the way most people do when they lose control, slow, acting like it was their choice. I didn't follow, didn't have to. Her image was no longer clean, no longer untouchable, and the world that once praised her now had doubts, even if they never knew why. Not every house has to be broken into. Some just need someone to walk in and leave the door to trust cracked open for the rest of your life.
Have you ever seen someone say goodbye to a house that was never really theirs? Someone who enters, tidies, observes, without ever being invited. Someone who swears they're not trespassing, just preserving. This is one of those stories, and it begins the way most obsessions do, with silence and a little too much kindness. If you've ever trusted someone just because they seemed helpful, or felt that weird chill after leaving a door slightly ajar, this story might stir something you've been trying to ignore. Like the video, share it with someone you'd protect. And if you've ever felt like someone was in your home without you knowing, leave a comment. Sometimes what we need most is someone who notices what was moved, even when nobody else did. Some people care for houses like they're people. They notice the cracks in the driveway, the rhythm of the pipes, the way the light shifts with the seasons. I'm like that. My name is Marcus. I do property maintenance, and I got to know her house the way you learn a plant, slowly. First it was the bathroom pipe, then the rusty gate, then the porch light. Before long, I found myself tending to things she never asked for, pulling in soggy newspapers, straightening the stones in the path, scrubbing the doormat with a soft brush she kept in the laundry room, all unprompted, all with a care that felt too personal to be professional. The first time I entered uninvited was on a Tuesday. She'd left the back door unlocked, maybe by mistake, maybe in a rush. I'd already been by that morning to install the new sensor in the water heater, but I came back late afternoon with an excuse ready in my head. Never used it. The house was empty, still, and the spare key was exactly where it always was, behind the clay jar next to the stacked firewood. I stepped in slowly, took off my boots, washed my hands. I didn't touch anything personal, just closed a loose window, fluffed the pillows, scrubbed the rug with that soft bristle brush she kept in the laundry room. All unprompted, all with a care that felt too personal to be professional. The first time I entered uninvited was on a Tuesday. She'd left the back door unlocked, maybe by mistake, maybe in a rush. I'd already been by that morning to install a new sensor in the water heater, but I came back late afternoon with an excuse ready in my head. Never used it. The house was empty, still, and the spare key was exactly where it always was, behind the clay jar next to the stacked firewood. I stepped in slowly, took off my boots, washed my hands. I didn't touch anything personal, just closed a loose window, fluffed the pillows, scrubbed the rug with that soft bristle brush. It felt like I was taking care of something entrusted to me, even if no one had ever said it aloud. Over the following days, I kept returning, always subtly, never when she was home, never at night. She always left the kitchen curtains slightly open, and I'd watch from the gravel road to see if the sink light was on. If it was, I stayed away. If not, I entered. I'd clean things no one noticed, straighten frames, test the thermostat. Once I even replaced the batteries in her TV remote, not out of intrusion, but because no one ever did that for me, and now I could do it for someone else. One day she left her phone on the kitchen table. I didn't enter that night. I just stood outside, watching the blue glow flash with each notification. Part of me knew I should walk away, but another part wanted to know who she texted so much. I came back the next night. The key was still there. The house still. The phone wasn't in the kitchen anymore, but something new had appeared in the hallway. A pair of men's shoes, too big to be hers. I stood still for a long time, staring at them. The air felt heavier. I didn't move until the fridge made that mechanical click it always did. Then I left. The next few days, something shifted in me. I started observing more than cleaning. I noticed she turned off every light at night except one, the bathroom. Always the bathroom. I noticed she smiled less coming home from work, that the dishes piled up more, that she started using speakerphone on Fridays. A man's voice, low laughter. And then on Saturday afternoon, I saw his car in her driveway. He went in and stayed, and inside me, something turned. Sunday morning, I came back before sunrise. I stood at the edge of the fence for nearly an hour, checking if his car was still there. It was. This time I didn't use the back door. I did something I hadn't since I was a teenager. Popped up in the garage window with a rusted pocket knife. I entered silently. No boots, no tools. In her closet, I found his t-shirt on a hanger. I can't explain it, but my fingers closed around that fabric like it belonged to me. I felt angry, not at him exactly, but at how easily he'd been welcomed into a space I had spent months quietly building my presence in. I stashed his jacket under the laundry sink. Then I opened the shower valve just enough so it would slowly drip, enough for her to think the plumbing was acting up. I went back to my car and waited. When she called that afternoon asking if I could take another look, my voice sounded normal. "Of course, Dana. I'll stop by first thing tomorrow," like everything was still in place. I came back at 6:45 a.m. Her car wasn't in the driveway, hospital shift. But his was, parked neatly, like he belonged there. I brought my tool bag, but didn't go in through the back. I used the spare key under the jar, like always. The house was dim, warm, breathing. In the laundry room, I opened the water heater compartment, shut off the safety valve, and reset the temperature sensor to its lowest limit. When someone turned on the shower, the system would fail, like before. I staged another minor fault, so she'd need me again. But he was still asleep in her bed. I opened the door gently. He snored softly, wrapped in the blue blanket I had once pulled from the dryer myself. I stood there. The silence felt suspended in time. I didn't make a sound, didn't touch a thing, just watched his chest rise and fall for a few seconds. Thought about everything. The house's smell, the sound of tree branches scraping the siding, her voice saying, "Thanks, Marcus." And in that instant, with him asleep, vulnerable, facing away, I understood. She didn't need me. She was just nice to everyone. I never stepped foot in that house again. The following week, she messaged asking if the water heater could be permanently fixed or if we should just replace it. I read it, but didn't reply. I deleted her number, then my entire visit log. I put the key in an envelope and left it in her mailbox with a note that said, "Thanks for everything." No name, no signature. It's been 2 months since I moved to a new neighborhood. More trees, older houses, deeper cracks. The other day I saw a woman who looked like her crossing the street with a bag of dog food in her arms. She smiled at me. Not that automatic kind, a real, tired smile. I caught myself smiling back. And then, on the way home, I passed by a porch with a back door slightly ajar. The kitchen curtains swayed in the breeze. I wondered if the lock was weak, if it had an old heater, if maybe it needed someone to care for it, uninvited. If something in these stories made you glance at a window, or wonder how long that hallway's been quiet, maybe you're not alone in your own house either. Sometimes the scariest people don't break in, they just let themselves belong. If any part of that felt too familiar, leave a comment, share this video, and if you're still unsure who you're locking the door against, subscribe to the channel, because the next story might already be inside.